So let's take an example of this, because we've been talking in hypothetical terms so far, but let's make this very, very tangible with a hypothetical example. So let's say that you, through awareness, you are out there and either there are 10,000 organic searches and you've got results showing up, or you just sent out an email blast to 10,000 people, that may be past students, something like that, or maybe you're running pay-per-click ads and you've got the ads show up 10,000 times. 10,000 sounds like a lot, but it's really not when you think about the number of people out there doing searches every single day. So 10,000, might call impressions, okay, awareness. And then from that, 200 people click a link in an email or click a search result or a pay-per-click ad, and they actually come to your website. Now, what we typically have to subtract from that are people that we consider to be bounces. And for those who aren't familiar with the term, a bounce would be someone who arrives at your website and then leaves immediately. And it's technically defined as someone who only views one page during their visit. So it might be your home page or it might be a more specific page, but they only see one page. And as I'll talk about a little bit later, in continuing education websites, the typical bounce rate, the average bounce rate, I should say, is around 50%. So I'm subtracting 100 from those 200 visits because really, on average, half of them don't stick around for more than just one page on the site. Now, of the 200 visits, the 100 people who actually didn't bounce and stuck around on the site, let's say that 20 of them were interested enough that they actually added a class to their shopping cart, or at least began the checkout process or the enrollment process on your site. So that would be 10% of the original visits, or it would be 20% of the people that didn't bounce who were adding classes to the cart. And then let's say of those, we get 5 enrollments. Okay. Now, it's kind of a dismal picture if you start from the top and look all the way down. 10,000 people were out here searching or received emails from us, and as a result of that, we got 5 enrollments. But this is a pretty typical, or at least a realistic, marketing funnel that you might see from a website. And what this ends up being is, with the 200 visits, that really, we're getting 5 enrollments from 200 visits, calculates out to be about a 2.5% conversion rate, which is around what Emory University tends to get for the open enrollment programs there. So this is a pretty typical conversion rate. So these numbers I'm sharing with you here are not at all unreasonable. In some cases, we can get this conversion rate up, and getting a conversion rate of 3 or 4% is actually doing pretty darn well. Okay. So that's what the process would look like, and that's why we have to think about people at each step along this way, because just doing the pay-per-click ads, if we have a bounce rate that's higher than 50% or even 50%, for me is not a great bounce rate. It's all of those impressions that we had out there didn't do their job, because then we lost people, or we get people to the website and then we're not getting them to enroll. So let's talk about what can we do to improve each of those stages. And before we get too deep into specific techniques, let's talk about the ways that we can measure those techniques. Because one of the fantastic things about online marketing, as I mentioned earlier, is that there are just metrics everywhere. And a person that I like to quote often, actually I have a quote from the back of my business card, is Peter Drucker, who's famous for saying, and other people have been quoted saying very similar comments, but Peter Drucker was quoted as saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. In other words, if you don't know where you are and you can't measure where you're trying to get to, then there's no real way that you can come up with a good strategy to close that gap, right? So you think of the football image here of, without this measurement, then how do we know if they've gotten their first down or haven't gotten their first down? So again, the lucky thing for us is that there are plenty of metrics that we can use in online marketing. I'm not going to read these out to you, but you can see these, and we'll make this presentation available to you after. Just take a closer look at this, but just take a look at the vast different types and quantity of metrics that we can use. And this is not a complete list, but as a good overview of things, everything from the click-through rate for emails or pay-per-click to your cost per acquisition. In other words, how much does it cost in marketing for you to get one enrollment? All of these things can be calculated, and many of these are calculated automatically by website analytics tools or online marketing tools and reports. So all of this information is easily available to you without doing any kind of customized mathematics or calculations or anything like that. So we've got plenty of metrics. The trick is to use them to make good decisions. So let's talk about the stages. Let's talk about the stages that we're going to apply these metrics. And our first stage is awareness. Now, in traditional marketing, awareness is achieved by things like this. You've got newspapers, you've got billboards, televisions, radios, ads in magazines, maybe not these particular magazines, but trade journals, things like that. So this is these are traditional awareness mechanisms. We have similar types of mechanisms online, but obviously they take a different form. So our awareness techniques online are appearing in search results, whether you have to pay to get there or you just show up organically. Again, everyone paid to show up on these mediums, so it shouldn't feel awkward to us to be paying to show up on search results pages. So organic paid search results. We've got other types of online advertising, from the somewhat old-fashioned banner ads, and there's some newer mechanisms for doing online advertising that are springing up. Email marketing, links, and even the offline marketing. More and more groups are using these offline marketing techniques, including direct mail, to drive people to the website. So all these are ways that we can make people aware of what we have. Then we want to measure this. So we want to see how effective our awareness building techniques are. And lucky for us, we've got a variety of tools that will allow us to do that. Here's a screenshot of some software that allows you to actually track how well your particular website is ranking on as many search engines as you care about, but it shows you how well your site is ranking on whatever search phrases you're interested in tracking. And here's an example of some Six Sigma Greenbelt search phrases targeted at Atlanta, Georgia, and it shows what position in Google, Yahoo, and MSN, in this case this is the Emory University site, it shows what position it's showing up in. So you see all the ones, that means that we are the #1 organic search result for all of those phrases. And the little green arrows and the numbers beside those are simply saying whether we've moved up or moved down in the rankings since the last time this was run. So this is an example of a way that we can measure how effective our search engine optimization efforts are in getting our website listing visible to people who are out there searching. It doesn't measure click-throughs or traffic to your website, but it at least measures visibility, which at the awareness stage is your goal. This is another way of looking at a very similar thing. What this report shows is the quantity of search phrases over time that were showing up, that our website was showing up in the top 20 results. So every dot on this chart represents a particular day when we ran the scan to see how well the site was ranking. And as you see, what you want to see is what we're seeing here is a nice upward trend. And by the way, the vertical gray bars represents points in time where we made specific search optimization improvements to the website and hoped to then see over the next few weeks a nice upward swing in the number of top 20 rankings that we were getting. And in fact, we see that very directly. So it's just a good way of visualizing that those efforts you're putting into search engine optimization really do have an effect, as you can see